and welcome back to another episode. You remember last week we did Halo, and I said I was going to go off and play Halo whilst using Infinite as a coaster. Didn't quite get to that point, but kind of playing the original Xbox again really got me into wanting to talk about it. And I figured, hey, I've done a top 10 GameCube games video. I could do a top 10 original Xbox. Hasn't panned out like that because it's a very large collection for me, and I really like the original Xbox. It's kind of up there alongside the GameCube as kind of my top systems in general. Saturn's on there, along with the Wii U as well. All good. But as a result, we're doing a top 15. These aren't in any particular order outside of the final one, but I'll just kind of grab as we go. First one's obviously the original Halo. I mean, it kind of defined the Xbox. It defined Microsoft for the better part of a decade, if not better part of 2. And ever since, they've lacked something as hard-hitting. I don't think Starfield has really been that kind of oomph that the Xbox brand really needed, and I don't think buying out Activision was any better. Moving on, my second favourite original Xbox game. I know, a bit early, but as I said, this was just kind of a pick and grab. Really love Halo 2. I mean, it's basically taking Halo 1 and kind of morphing it into a wider story, wider characters, more factions to fight in the form of the heretics, and fighting alongside hunters is in the final level is just extraordinarily cool. After like 2 games of having these things blast you in the face with green lasers. But yeah, honestly, very solid game. Absolutely one of my tippy top favourites. Probably should have waited until the end of the video before picking that one up, but this is random. Okay, Battlefront 2, very solid game. However, I prefer Battlefront 1, if strictly for a distinct lack of Renvar Citadel and Renvar Cathedral, I believe it is. Renvar Cathedral. 2 extremely good maps that are decidedly lacking from Battlefront 2, and that and how Battlefront 2 kind of nerfed some of the more fun strats, like destroyer droids and in particular super battle droids, kind of knocks 2 down a bit for me. 1, on the other hand, I love Battlefront 1. I love it. My wife and I prefer this, though I think we would both agree this one's campaign is better, because this doesn't have one, which is a pity. But what it does have is my 2 favourite maps in the entire Battlefront series, even over pretty much anything, even over Hoth. Hoth is good, Hoth is great, but even in Battlefront 1, I think it's a better map, because there's a tunnel from one particular base through to outside of the shield generator that they got rid of in 2, which is kind of stupid, but here we are. Okay. We'll continue with the Star Wars trend. Republic Commando. So, Republic Commando was probably one of my first games on the entire system. When I first got my original Xbox back in, I think, 2005 now, which is an insufferably long time ago. The first game I actually ended up opening was this. And whilst I did get the Halo triple pack, this game is one of the very few on the original Xbox I can go back and just beat time and time again, because it is very, very good. And the fact that LucasArts never made a decent game after this, yes, I am counting Force Unleashed, is kind of sucks eggs. I mean, Republic Commando kind of took that kind of all clones have unique personalities that the Clone Wars TV series would kind of later Pioneer, and kind of ran with it. It makes me really severely wish we got a sequel to this. We kind of did. There was Order 66 on mobile, which, no, I'd have killed to play as like Imperial Commandos and then turning traitor against the Empire. That would have been really cool. Gunning down Jedi, that kind of stuff. Okay, I'm never going to get the chance to talk about this next game because it's awful and nobody knows what it is. Warpath. Warpath is dreadful in a lot of different ways. It is astronomically bad. However, it's kind of got a weirdness to it and a kind of arena-style shooter-ness to it that I just really enjoy. It does very much help that it's got kind of a cool sort of campaign idea going on. So you kind of take and seize territories, and these give you access to like upgrades and different weapons and that kind of stuff. Very bare bones. Yeah, interesting. It's more interesting in its history. This game isn't on the list, but I was just bringing it up. So this started as a sequel to Pariah. If you don't know what Pariah is, I don't blame you. It's dreadful. Its story is not very good, and yeah, you can kind of tell. You can kind of tell why Pariah flopped. But as a result, they went, let's make a multiplayer-only version. Basically add in a bunch of the mechanics, add in some decent vehicles, add in some pretty solid gameplay, and away you go, you get Warpath. One of the few American territory games I own for the original Xbox, and one that just flat out works. It just flat out works in a PAL system without any modification, which is very nice. And that's more than I can say for Phantom Dust, which isn't on this list. Unfortunately, for one major reason. I haven't given that game the time of day. I want it to be on my top 15, considering how long this video might end up being. I might wiggle it on there. But Phantom Dust is definitely an honourable mention. Pariah is not. But the only honourable mention so far will be Phantom Dust. As I said, this is wildly out of order. It's just kind of stream of consciousness, seeing where we go. It probably won't even be a particularly long video, depending, because we're already a good chunk of the way through. But moving on. Jet Set Radio Future. I adore this game. I absolutely love this game. I will freely admit this is the GT 2002 and Jet Set Radio Future combo disc, but a very, very, very solid title. It kind of took everything that Jet Grind Radio in America, or Jet Set Radio in the rest of the world, was, which is a very solid kind of extreme sports, skateboarding, kind of grindy rails, open world environment kind of thing. Well, no, not open world. That's what Jet Set Radio Future did, because the original had time limits. And I hate time limits. I hate time limits in video games when I feel they're really arbitrary. And they're not really generous enough with, say, the room for error. By removing that, kind of giving us a pseudo open world, or open zone environment with this, making the graffitiing manageable. Basically, it's Jet Set Radio Plus. Way better. Way better than its Dreamcast counterpart. And the fact that it's been stuck on the Xbox original for so many years without a re-release is an absolute crying shame. It's so bloody freaking good. Even its multiplayer. It has a robust multiplayer that nobody ever talks about. Kind of makes me want to play it on camera and show it off to people. But yeah, really solid. Even has bots in its multiplayer, which is not something you'll typically see online, people talking about that. But there are bots in its multiplayer, if that's something you particularly give a fuck about. I think that might be next week's video, actually. I think next week's video is going to be games with bots in them. And I know, very, why play bots when you could play online multiplayer? Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, there's a fat stack of games, and I have a fat stack of unpopular opinions about that particular subject, so we'll cover that next week. Moving on. That's the favourite one. Blood Rain 2. My wife got me this last year, I believe. Very good game. Very solid game. I'm going to preface this whole video, nearly 11 minutes in, discussing that a lot of the games on here are from Majesco. Oh yeah, there you go. There's your other honourable mention. Psychonauts. Very good game. Meat Circus kicked my ass, and that's why it's not on here. But Blood Rain 2 basically took everything that Blood Rain 1 was and amped it up to like 11. A whole load of random, really freaking weird cheats and just very odd gameplay styles. Solid game. Very solid game. Does not like using the cheats. Glitches out something fierce. I have been stuck killing the same absolute metric buttload of vampires for about 3 months now. I need to kind of maybe play the game without the cheats. And then maybe it'll love me again. We'll see about that. Moving on. Yeah, okay. If you've seen my Free Radical video, you know how much I love Time Splitters Future Perfect. Another game with bots. But a game fondly remembered for having them. And kind of almost requires them to be Time Splitters. Like playing bot matches with your friends, gunning down Mr. Giggles, the zombie clown, as he screams about his pocket, is really quintessential to the 6th generation. It's exactly what I kind of grew up on. I kind of grew up on stupid games like that were both completely insane and a lot of fun, and something I feel is really missing from modern gaming is that just kind of absolute freaking weirdness. Like, there aren't many action character platformer sort of dealios like Blood Rain 2. There's no games like Jet Set Radio. Yes, I know Bum Rush Cyberpunk came out. Yes, I have ordered it. Yes, it will be here soon. But there aren't many games that kind of go off in 100 different directions. If I ever do a top 10 PS2 games video, my number one will weird you out because it's not... No one will get it. Absolutely no one will get it. To be fair, no one's going to get this one. They might. But they won't. They might. We'll see. Anyway. We're now kind of in to the weird territory, so I guess I will just jump in with Conquer Live and Reloaded. I'm a big fan of this game. It's very, very good. It's very, very good. It's not the best way to play Conquer, personally. I think that if you want to play the uncensored proper version, you'd be better off playing Rare Replay. Unfortunately, for some asinine reason, Live and Reloaded's not on there. It's not on Rare Replay, even though, they made the fucking game. They made it. They made the full-blown multiplayer mode. Did they shove it in to Rare Replay? No, they did not. So, really the only way you're going to be playing this is by picking up a copy, maybe shoving it in your Xbox 360 or your original Xbox, as you should be doing, and playing it like that. But yeah, very fun game. I kind of wish they'd been able to do what they wanted to do. So the plan had been to kind of introduce playing the main line Conker's Bad Fur Day throughout the single player, and slowly deconstructing it. There's a bit of that at the beginning, but then they get rid of it, which is super lame and super dumb, but it is very much one of my favourite games on the system. Absolutely is. Okay, the only strategy game on this list. Now, I think I talked about this in my console RTS video. If I didn't, that was very stupid, because it's Goblin Commander. it's a game where you control like hordes of little goblin bastards killing other little goblin bastards for being little goblin bastards. It really, really invoked Overlord. Now, I'm a big Overlord fan. It was basically stupid British Pikmin that was more angry. And you know what? This tickled that same itch. Never got a sequel. So many games on this list. No bloody sequels. Which sucks so many balls. But yeah. Never really been able to play this multiplayer-wise with anyone, unfortunately. And unlike most console RTSs in general, lacks a skirmish mode, which... Great. Fantastic. I'd argue that's kind of where you get the bulk of the gameplay for this. Single player is fine. It's a bit... But it's fine. It's fun. If you're looking for a starter console RTS, play that. It's not expensive. I've even been debating on getting it for GameCube as well. I don't have to. And it's very expensive on GameCube, much like Future Perfect is. Way more expensive than they really should be, but here we go. I'll save those for towards the end. Now, I did do a Panzer Dragoon video ages ago. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, because Panzer Dragoon Auto is very much on my top 15 original Xbox games. Very, very, very solid follow-on to Panzer Dragoon Saga, which I still need to play all the way through, but here we are. Auto is just kind of everything that made the original 2 so good, thrown in with kind of Saga's level of storytelling. Not all the way, but certainly near it. And it's still gorgeous. Like, honestly, it's still one of the single best looking games of this entire genre. I don't know what it was about Sega at the time, but they made games that aged like fine wine. Other games did not age like fine wine. In fact, they are so garishly ugly that it makes you wonder why they made games in the first place. Brute Force is that kind of game. It's an ugly, ugly little miserable experience that isn't actually miserable. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It's a tactical shooter kind of before stuff like, say, Rainbow Six Vegas or Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. I think that's... yeah. Kind of before all of that. As a result, it's janky as hell. There's no cover-based shooting. Thank God. And your best bet is to set up a kill box with 3 members of your squad and use the invisible one to lure in others. But, you know, very solid multiplayer. Very unique multiplayer. You control a squad each, and you can have up to 8 if you do System Link. If you do System Link with this, you can have up to 8 squads. That's fucking insane. That is completely and utterly insane, and something I would desperately love to do if I could rope in 8 lunatics to play that game with me. But, we'll see about that. Okay, I know I said that we would be heavy on the Majesco, this particular list, and we are. Raises Hell. Raises Hell is kind of like if you took Oddworld, combined it with, weirdly enough, social commentary on the Iraq War, which the developers will deny to within an inch of their lives, but it is very much there, and kind of made it extremely, extremely gory, and then threw in a golf minigame for the multiplayer. Had full-blown online multiplayer as well. Like, this is such a strange game. It's kind of the last strange game for the original Xbox. I think it was 2006. No, 2005. 2005, but by this point, the 360 was out. The Xbox was kind of festering on its last legs, unfortunately. And 2005 was not a good year for Majesco. You had flops like, well, this, Psychonauts, Blood Rain, Aeon Flux, which I still don't bloody own, and I need to track that down. I know it's a movie tie-in game, but it's kind of one of Majesco's final swan songs for this particular system, and I hear good things. I also hear bad things, but yeah. I first heard about this actually from FrameRater. I'll tag him in the description. The dude had a whole channel dedicated to this game. Everything about it, absolutely everything. From the development history to interviewing the composer to the full soundtrack to multiplayer. Just he has a Discord as well that I've been a part of recently, even though I don't go on Discord anymore. But yeah, very solid, weird little game. And if there's one thing that Majesco was extraordinarily good at, it was cheats. And I'll be honest with you, that's a big part of why I like this game so much. It's the cheats. They really do make it a lot more playable if you're completely invincible. Which isn't necessarily a good thing, but here we are. Go check out FrameRater. Wonderful channel. Big influence on this one, actually, to an extent. Also, I like his taste in games. It's very similar to mine. The final game that isn't my favourite one. I was playing this earlier, and a lot of people would say it's terrible. It's poorly optimized. It's janky. It's glitchy. It's freaking atrocious. It's Advent Rising. Now, yes, big, sweeping, evolving story, according to the back, by Orson Scott Card. If you know anything about Orson Scott Card, you know he is the biggest asshat currently writing sci-fi today. He wrote Ender's Game and a whole bunch of anti-LGBTQI plus propaganda because he is a tosser. And I'll freely say that. I'll freely say that to his face. He is a complete tosser. That being said, he didn't write the story. He didn't write the basic, like, grounded overall everything story. He just kind of scribbled out an outline, handed it over, and they went, "Ooh, we can shove that in the marketing. He's a popular guy." He's also a homophobe. Oh no, he's a giant homophobe. Gross. Don't let that overshadow this, though. Advent Rising is really an example of a game overreaching. Massively, overwhelmingly overreaching for glory, and exploding so badly in Majesco's face that they ceased to be a game publisher for, well over a decade. They went into being dentists for a bit, or something weird like that, working on dental equipment, and then I think the head of the company went, "Maybe we should make games again. Maybe you should bring all these fucking weird ass games back. Give me a big old staunchy re-release." Speaking of re-release, my favourite game on the original Xbox is Stubbs the Zombie. If you've watched my top 10, you know why. Also, you're a zombie. You're a game where you just play as a zombie, eating people's brains, building up big old hordes, and taking down 1950s America, which I'm always on board for. Always on board for massacring 1950s America. That's a joke. But I also love what it is. It's the epitome of everything I like about the sixth gen of gaming. It was a weird frickin' time. You got games like Panzer Dragoon Auto, you got games like Brute Force, Advent Rising, Raises Hell, Stubbs the Zombie, Blood Rain. So many weird games. Outrigger on the Dreamcast, Kessen, Savage Skies, Trapped, Tribes Aerial Assault. Very weird niche sorts of games that you don't really get nowadays. You don't get that kind of healthy mix between B tier stuff and AAA tier stuff. Kind of, you know, it's all A tier stuff and indie stuff, and that's kind of it, which is a shame. I feel something's missing. But maybe that's just nostalgia. Maybe that's Maybelline. It's not Maybelline. Anyway, sorry. Got off topic. That'll be it. That is my top 15. Technically 17. Because, you know, it's like an aught. I want Fandom Dust to be on there. So technically 17. Top 17. Original Xbox games. Thank you for joining me this week. I believe next week I am going to talk about... I'm going to be talking about games with bots in them and how much I enjoy playing them, because I think it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, join me for that. If you haven't hit subscribe already, do it. That will be much appreciated. I'd like to hit maybe 50 by the end of the year. That would be a doozy. And go check out Frame Rate. Definitely go check out Frame Rate. Big fan of Frame Rate. So yeah, that's it. And that'll be me, guys, signing off for another week.